are you guys doing today?
Oh,
Wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for doing this. My biggest regret while watching the movie was that I wasn't watching it with a full theater of people to share in the experience. It has to be a little bit like for you guys, you make a movie like this, it's a group ensemble, there's tons of fun stuff and you want to watch it with a big crowd. Is it a little like painful for you guys, like knowing that it's so hard to in this environment right now that, most people aren't going to see it with a full crowd?
I saw it with like just my nearest and dearest and really, really, really dug it. And it helped with the creepiness of it. And I laughed out loud regardless. So I have hope that not too much of the experience is lost. But of course, movie theaters are magic. And feeling the energy, like there's actual energy in the space with other people. Yes, of course, I wish people could experience it that way. I wish I could experience it that way. And I wish I could experience it with the rest of my cast. And
yeah, amen to that. Big time.
Before jumping into the specifics of the film, and congratulations on it, I got some other types of questions. So let's get started on some of those real fast. What TV series for each of you would you like to guest star on?
Mine are on different ends of the spectrum. One is The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and then the other is Ozark. Because I really want to just like play a garbage person,
You want to be a garbage person on Miss Maisel or on Ozark?
Yeah, I want to just be like the Jewish comedian that didn't make it on Mrs. Maisel.
No, I thought you were going to say the Jewish comedian that didn't make it in the Ozarks, and then you want to be an Ozark person in Marvelous. Just feel like in Marvelous was like, you better pay me or I'll take your boat, or switch it. Yeah,
I want to switch it.
How did I get
not
here?
Understand genre or tone of any of the shows that I'm on.
We cross pollinate, that's what I want. I mean, I want to be Jon Snow, but in Easttown with Mare. You know what I mean?
What movie or movies do you guys think you've seen the most? And I don't mean during the pandemic, I mean life.
I didn't grow up with a lot of VHS tapes, unlike you, Joshy, who has all of the trivia. So I just had Beethoven and I watched it every day, maybe twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. It's deep. Actually, if you really look into it, it's about the trapped animal in all of us who wants to be a good boy. Don't we all want to be the good boy?
I hadn't thought of it like that.
Yeah, animal within all, like the werewolves, like the Saint Bernard within, Saint Bernard's within, Saint Bernard's within.
The sequel.
What scary movie did you see too early in life that messed you up?
Chucky.
Oh, good one. Yeah. Oh my God.
Because you just keep living around dolls.
It's not like you're gonna stop getting toys and you're like, is this thing gonna come to life?
It's not like they're not gonna be there at every sleepover. You can get them out of your own room, but you can't get them out of your friends' rooms.
Stephen King's Cat's Eye, speaking of being in a child's bedroom, just watching young Drew Barrymore deal with the troll that came through the hole in her wall, but ideally the cat rescues her, and I love a cat. That was intense. I think that was the first one that really messed me up.
What do you guys collect, if anything?
Milana, do you ever have you?
Not really. I got a lot of plants, but only because it's the pandemic. I don't really.
I want to be one of those. I mean, actually, like you, Steven. I want to be one of those, like a cool nerd that has the stuff. I want to get old Ghostbusters toys, a Darkman comic book with with framed and cool Legos, and have an office that's just my excuse to sort of live in my childhood a little bit. But I don't have this. I'm literally talking to you from my bedroom. I have nothing.
Do you remember what it was for each of you that made you interested in the entertainment industry? Said, I kind of want to do that. I want to do that. Whether it be a performance, whether it be a movie, What was there something when do you remember what got you excited about it?
I have been kind of like acting since I was a kid, just for the money and because it's fun. Like I did Barbie commercials as a kid, because we're like immigrants and we're like, I don't know, she talks too much, put her in front of a camera. Like we didn't know what we were doing, but switching to comedy and becoming like an improviser was, I think, for me, like when I started to actually want to do this and have a career at it. And I went to UCB on Franklin in Hollywood, and I saw Brian Gallivan perform. And if you don't know who he is, you should look him up. He does this like sassy gay best friend character online, but he does a million things and he's brilliant at all of them. But anyway, the suggestion from the audience was Hollywood Bowl, which is like an amphitheater. Is it an amphitheater? It's a giant theater here in LA. And he started the scene with, I'm eating breakfast out of my Hollywood bowl. And it was just a scene about a guy who had a bowl from every city. And the way that the entire show was structured around this ridiculous concept and like became perfectly a absurdist play. I was like, however they're pulling those rabbits out of hats, I want to learn how to do that. So that changed the game for me, for sure.
Wow, when you said UCB, it reminded me, like, yeah, I could be like, oh, I saw Batman. I was like, I want to do that, fight crime. I did go to UCB on 22nd Street, like the old theater in New York, and would like wait on the lines for the ASCAT shows, like the late night shows where like, Mike Myers might pop up, or, Amy Poehler and the original UCB cast and stuff. And I think that was probably when I was like, not only do I already knew I wanted to like act and perform, or at least like be a part of that community, but that I like wanted to do, like, I wanted to be one of them. I wanted to like wear like thrift store jackets and like, Skechers, and have fun friends and like get bar food after and like nerd out about comedy. I did end up, once I started taking class and stuff, I felt very much out of the clique, but that was an inspiring time because, you'd see the shows like late night and then you like watch, Elf, and like the performers would pop up in movies like that and you'd be like, I saw them Sunday, it was a cool thing. That and, Lee Strasberg, just like love his work.
For both of you, when was the last time a director said to you, or Josh, when was the last time you said to someone, I really need you to make this in one take?
Oh, I told Milana and Sam that is literally the last time I told them that. I was like, we're just going to push in. We only have so much time. You got to make this scene work. I was about to give something away, but it was like set to a song. We had to really limit our coverage. It was all just to push in, and they nailed it.
Okay, so it actually
like, hey, I know you said only one take, but can I do it one more time, please? Please, 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 please.
And then everyone's like, oh, okay. Everyone says like,
oh, she's begging.
They all say it like as a chorus, like, okay, yeah. Like an audience.
Last thing, I promise, before we jump into the movie. One of you acted on ER as a little kid, and I couldn't believe when I read that. I was like, wait, what? So I really need to know what that experience was like. And yeah, exactly. And do you remember what that experience was like doing that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. George Clooney was there. You don't forget that shit. I think it was season 1. I was an 8-year-old playing a 6-year-old. Like, I'm always playing young, and this is I don't know, I'm doing a TikTok now. I don't and I remember whenever I would get on set as a kid, I would get so energized because I was so happy to be there that my mom would have to like calm me down, and I would just walk around Warner Brothers. I got to be on a studio lot, just crazy as a kid, so fun. And also it's like where Looney Tunes is, like the Animaniacs are there, and Urkel's being filmed next door, and George Clooney's playing basketball with Urkel. So yes, I have so many vivid memories of that time. And I played a little Russian girl with AIDS that Julianne Margulies wanted to adopt, but she couldn't because she had a sordid past. And yeah, it was a really, really beautiful, happy memory for me. I remember inviting George Clooney over my house and being like, my mom's not a good cook, but she will try if you want to come over. Just throw her under the bus.
That is incredible. And he just like looked up, like he did like the head thing. He's like, sure, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
I remember he would call me kiddo, and I was like, that's the best word to call a kid. Like everything he did, I was just like smitten. Everyone was. How could you not be?
I appreciate you sharing that story. Jumping into why I actually get to talk to you guys today. For people that have not seen the trailer, not familiar with the movie, Josh, how have you been describing the film to people?
Knives Out with a werewolf.
That is very good.
I mean, it's just the fastest way I could possibly do it. I mean, I could get into the plot about how, a small town of oddballs get snowed in at a local lodge and then gets picked off one by one with a creature lurking in the dark. But it's like not that simple as well. There's a lot going on, so it's a whodunit with teeth.
By the way, that's totally accurate. One of the things that I found interesting was that I believe you filmed this in February of 2020. Which is right before COVID shut down the world. So I am curious. I don't know how long your shooting schedule was, but when you were making the movie, were you were you aware of COVID? Was it entering that sort of thing? Like, are we going to get shut down? What's going on with the world?
Do you remember, Milana? Like, were we talking? We were by the end, like the last week for sure, right?
We were talking about it. No, before the last week, I think, because the last week was when we were on the stage. And by that point, I was already like going up to Crafty and the medic and being like, hey, so these berries have just been sitting out all day and there's a virus lurking in the air. Could we cover the berries?
They're like, okay, miss.
Okay, you're crazy. It's the flu.
Yeah,
That's right, it's the flu. Zoom catching in my. I remember we were all staying at a hotel together, or a lot of us were, and I remember Sam and I like ordering bags of beans to the house, to like our houses back in LA, just because we're like, wait, so is food gonna be scared? What systems are going to shut down? And I remember you saying, Josh, like, yeah, they're talking about people getting sick, but they're not talking about people who are surviving this. What are you like trying to be an optimist about COVID?
Oh my God. My sister, who's a musician, she came back from tour in a little city called Wuhan and was like, there's something going on. I think she was patient zero. She was like, there's something going on. I got you N95s, walkie-talkies, and a life straw, and like started buying a bunch of flour. And I was like, Rachel, you're crazy. And she's like, no, I just came from there. It's like contagion. So she was back like when we were like having the berry talk. So yeah. She came back before like it hit. She was like, I just left. So she was the Matt Damon really in that situation. And she was like, here's all this stuff. And I was like, whatever, Rachel, we're fine. My mom insisted on sending me on the plane home with Clorox wipes in a Ziploc bag. So I like wiped down stuff. A week later, I'm like, hey, Rachel, would you mind like sending all that stuff that you had, you purchased? And you were right. I had to go back to my big sister and was like, you were right. There was something occurring, and that something was a reason to sit at home for 16 and a half months. And now we're here.
The lesson that I took away from this entire conversation is the big sister is always right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's also a great musician. Check out Rachel Yamagata. She's a.
Oh my goodness, I geeked out when I met her because I was her biggest fan in college. She was like all I listened to, and then I got to meet her at our little family / cast and crew dinner that Josh hosted at Josh's family hosted at Josh's family's house, and she's a very special person. And
it was a family affair.
Her song is in Scare Me, but I don't think her songs are in Werewolves Within, right?
No, Werewolves Within is just Ace of Base and Savage Garden. She had her moment with the, with the tale of emasculation and gender competition. And now it's time to give Savage Garden a chance,
They might make it. Josh, how much did you debate putting yourself in the movie as one of the why didn't you? I'm just curious. Why didn't you put yourself in the film as one of the leads, or you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I mean, it's, 12 people. I could do it with 3 people and myself. I'd self-directed quite a bit. I know Milana knows that world very well too. Like it's not bad when it's like 3 of you. And you can kind of suggest and whatnot. When there's 12, and especially when you're working with like some of the comedy and just film, television, and like Broadway superheroes, from Wayne Duvall to Milana and Cheyenne, Harvey, Sam, and it goes on and on. I was like, I probably should take a step back. There was one moment when my manager was like, maybe you should, be one of the 12. And I was like, F off. That is, you're asking for a meltdown nightmare. I was so grateful to be as tricky as it was to kind of juggle everything. It was nice to come home to, my cabin in the middle of the woods and like make a hot toddy and be exhausted, not having to memorize lines and wrangle. But I will say I was close to being the voice on the radio, and I'll make this a Collider exclusive. The voice on the radio in Finn's car is Rhea Perlman.
Oh, look at
Rhea
that.
Perlman is in Werewolves Within.
I like that. Thank you. She's great.
She's great. She was like super down to do it.
Originally, it was supposed to be a dude, right? Was it always?
It was like, yeah, maybe it was going to be kind of like, Tony Robbins, or like masculine, maybe even Joe Rogan type. And then it turned into, no, let's make it kind of I don't know. I just like the idea of kind of a motivational speaker, but a Rhea comp. And I just straight up asked her. So I've known her daughter, Lucy, for a long time. We went to summer camp together years ago. And I was like, do you think she might be into it? And yeah, she did. So Rhea Perlman, she's in Werewolves Within. She rounds out the cast.
I love it. For both of you, I am curious about filming those big group scenes, because I would imagine that for Josh, I'm sure it's very stressful when you're trying to get these takes with all these people. But at the same time, I would imagine as a performer, it is fucking awesome working with all these people and also trying not to laugh and, and make it with the limited takes I'm sure you guys are doing. So for each of you, can you talk about working with the big group shots?
Well, for most of the movie, we only had 1 camera. And then for some of the bigger group shots, we had 2 cameras. I think it was like for only maybe 2 days.
It was like 48 hours.
Yeah. So we just really had to be on our A game and all know our timing and all that. But as you know, I really like always just relied on Josh to do that and to keep us on our A game. And he was really good at never showing him sweat. Even though he's so sweaty. He's like such a wet man. Josh Wetman. And
Mr. Wetman.
Director Wetman. But for me, the big group stuff was fun because we all got to be together and we all loved each other.
It was kind of, that was kind of incredible. Everybody somehow got along. Sorry, what were we going to say?
I was gonna say, I think it's this moment though, another Collider exclusive. Which one of you wants to reveal who ruined the most takes from like laughing or, breaking?
I think I ruined the most takes from laughing or breaking. I honestly, I don't think there was anyone who was unfocused. I honestly, looking back on it, I don't think there's one. I mean, maybe like Milana. Like Milana's very I don't know. It's not like reckless. It's just like, I think you were like very
haphazard.
You know what I mean?
Like sloppy.
Yeah, it was like very it was like but it was also like, I don't know, like you get very, you know what I mean?
Violent.
I don't know. Yeah, it was like violent.
Yeah. What was the question?
I was going to say something about who ruined the most takes, but Josh, can you talk a little bit though about directing when you have all these people, especially sometimes in the cabin when it's like everyone, what was it like directing those scenes and trying to keep it all together?
You have to be communicative with your actors. John Badham wrote a whole book about it. You can't hide, and you need to show everybody that you have everyone taken care of. And there is a fine balance, despite the fact that I'm like a cancer and an open nerve, a Cancerian, by the way. I'm not like a walking Anyway, I mean, Josh is like, he's like a can.
Kind of a can.
So it was partially being quite firm about these tableau compositions where, okay, guys, this scene is about, say, Finn entering the room. And everyone has their own separate business in the background. Let's just see what it looks like if Finn enters, he stops right here, and then we see each character kind of responding and closing in so that by the end we have, we go from A tableau to Z tableau. And so every actor is quite savvy. They know where the camera is. I say, let's just try that. And then everyone just sort of feels it out. You adjust accordingly. And then you end up with a wonderful composition shot, which often we had the opportunity really to only do 2 angles, 2 takes each. But everyone was just so proficient in just terms of blocking and their own kind of instincts and the like. It really wasn't difficult. Like Milana was mentioning, the difficult thing was the limited technology. It might be a bigger budget than, my first film, but it was still a 12-person cast with 1 camera. So you had to be clever.
I'm always fascinated about the editing process because that's where the film is the final rewrite. It's where the film comes together. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like editing the film and who you trusted for honest feedback?
Yeah, I was editing the movie.
Well, that was the thing, is that Milana had the Avid set up at her house. So like we were on Evercast, we did it remotely. And Milana's like,
I have editing actually myself. So I was doing it with an app on my phone while performing. No, sorry, Josh.
Milana, you started, like, the first cut that you did was like all crossfades. Do you want to talk about that? Like why you made that decision?
All crossfades and all me. I just felt like I know what people want, and it's so it was
and we had to kind of pair. It's not that we had to pare that down. It was just that, again,
it actually tell the story. And so that's where the other characters came in.
Separate of that. So what Milana was able to do is basically take hours of footage and just whittle it down to every one of her scenes, and everything else was on the cutting room floor. And it was a small nightmare, but we ended up with Bo Burnham's Inside. Check it out now on Netflix, and it's a real treat. Well, it was Brett Bachman who edited Mandy and is now doing Toxic Avenger for Legendary. We were lucky enough to have him do Werewolves Within. He is so technically proficient, so wonderful with sound, has such a wonderful sense of humor. He had such wonderful swings, and from the get-go, I think it was like that wonderful thing you want in an editor where it wasn't just piecing the thing together, but it was also challenging me to find the best way to present narrative, so whenever there was kind of a task or a mandate from the producers, hey, maybe we'll introduce this, reordering of scenes or flashback scenes and the like. I mean, he never missed a beat and always was there to make incredible suggestions. And to some degree, I was just kind of like, oh, Brett, but it's gonna be so much work to like go down that route, even though I know it's smarter. And he'd be like, but you should get on your iPhone and like do some ADR, and we'll see how the scene pieces together in an even smarter way. I mean, he was just I'll hopefully never do a project without him. He was the wonderful sort of the new eyes on the project. And then of course we had test screenings. We did that over Zoom, which was weird but helpful.
Really, you guys tested it over Zoom?
We had links that would expire, and then so folks would watch them. They only had a window to watch them, and then we'd hop on Zoom and do like a panel, and it was cool. We did it a few times and quite useful.
I'm curious because the thing about this movie is it's a whodunit. So you're obviously, as you're watching, you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what exactly is going on. So one of the things I would imagine is, when you're presenting information during the movie, how much do you want to present? How much are you giving away? How much are you trying to pull back? So I am curious if that changed at all in the edit in terms of, oh, wait, we went too far. We have to pull this back, or we need to give more. Do you know what I mean?
There were some conversations like that. I mean, the wonderful thing about the movie, and the thing I was trying to be a barometer for, is that everybody had their kind of Agatha Christie moment. Like everybody has their moment when it's like, that person's a suspect. Like they raised their eyebrow a certain way and turned into the shadows. Yeah, there was a bit of that calibration, but it really, Mishna's script, her last name is Wolff, by the way, our screenwriter, Mishna Wolff. She, no joke, she had this thing so tightly wrapped and tightly executed just from the get-go that it made it easy to piece the thing together. And then it just kind of became about like, how fun can we make it? How can we make it not, too trodden and yet, a bit of a thrill ride, something that might feel a bit like Clue.
Sure. Milana, how early do you want to see an edit when you're involved in something? Do you want to see like a rough cut so you can sort of like whisper to the director, I remember take 2, I did a different thing with my smile, I think it's a little better? Or do you want to sort of wait until it's done? And do you know what I mean?
I want to see it right away. I want to see everything right away. But I don't think I would tell the director what takes to use, because I just trust Josh more than I trust myself. It does sometimes help, with understanding tone. I've definitely like jumped into TV shows that were whole seasons and felt like, oh, if I could have just watched it, then I would have understood. So sometimes it's just helpful to see what the director is thinking early on or what the editor is thinking early on. But it's really just for my own neuroses and psychoses. It's not really to make the movie better. I don't think that's something better than a director can.
For both of you, I've spoken to, over the many, many years of running Collider, spoken to a lot of actors, and some of them absolutely cannot watch themselves on screen. I mean, they go to a premiere and they walk right out of the theater. For both of you, can you watch yourselves on screen, or does it tweak you out?
Well, we both direct, act, and have edited ourselves for about a decade.
That's true. But Milana, can you, even when you direct yourself, well, do you probably look beyond all of the psychosis stuff and just like, what technically is working? Like, how do you look at
Yeah, well, I don't have any of the the nervousness when I'm directing myself, because I think I just have a calmer understanding, or also knowing that I have a say over the edit in some cases, not in all cases, makes me less afraid. So I don't feel the need to control it that much. I'm more about exploring when I'm directing myself. But just watching this movie, I felt this is a not okay thing to say, but I felt proud of myself. I felt like I love the movie and I love the character. So it was a real joy to watch. But yes, I've also watched myself in things and totally cringed and wish I could turn back time.
Yeah, I think I'm exactly similar when I'm self-directing, whether it was like old videos for College Humor playing like Marty McFly, or even with Scare Me, I could somehow look through the icky stuff and feel okay. And I think part of that is just because, there's an element of, well, I know I have full control to sort of, says that's a good angle, or it's a good delivery, or, you can kind of support yourself while also not wasting your gaffer's time or whatever. But I think 99.9% of the time when I do something for someone else, unless I'm wearing like a sizable beard and like contact lenses, I have a really hard time watching it. Like I've done projects where someone will send me a rough cut and just wanted excitedly, director, like, I'm excited to sneak this thing down. I can't even think about clicking that old Vimeo.
Obviously, you made this on a budget, and you have snow in this movie. You're depicting snow, and the entire time I'm watching, I'm like, wow, it must have been a pain in the ass with continuity to try to pull this off, with the amount of snow falling in the scene or whatever. So was that going through your head at all? Like, do we really want snow to be falling, with the continuity issues, or were you sort of like embracing it?
I mean, from my standpoint, I was like, Ubisoft's got this. They got a big enough checkbook. It's like, we were fighting global warming. Like, one day the lawn would be resplendently snowful, and then the next it would be green in January, February. But we had wonderful VFX artists that honestly seamlessly transitioned. You know, we did have practical snow, starch flakes, and the like, snow blankets, and in some cases real snow, and it somehow blended beautifully. Yeah, I don't know how we did it, but it was
And
quite the
an
process.
amazing wardrobe team who would re-starch us and then clean us off and then put fresh starch on us and then clean us off. I mean, there are so many talented, meticulous people working on this or caring about meticulous, tiny little details that make it all look seamless.
Yeah, Rachel and Kelsey and David Tabbert, our wardrobe, like shout out to them in the biggest way. But that was the biggest win. Like Milana called it out, is that the fact that like we had the practical snow on shoulders and in hair, that is what transitioned us so successfully in and out of scenes. And I was just like, oh my God, if there was stuff I was looking at in the edit where it was like, if we didn't have that small little sprinkle, it would have taken you out of it to a degree.
So one of the things about this is it's based on a VR game by Ubisoft. Can you talk a little bit about how involved is Ubisoft on something like this, which is, are they really involved in the edit? Are they controlling a lot of stuff? Or is it sort of like, can you just sort of talk about their involvement in the movie, if at all?
The script came out of the Ubisoft Women's Film and Television Fellowship. So Mishna Wolff's script was developed through that wonderful fellowship program under the watchful eye of Margaret Boykin, who is our incredible producer, who on a daily basis I text her and say, you have spoiled any incoming opportunity I have with how wonderfully you've treated us. They were very involved. I mean, it was their baby. It's a new initiative. They did tread filmic territory before with like Assassin's Creed, but they were like, too big. We want to try something a little smaller. Let's go the Blumhouse route. Let's like write the check and just do this kind of smaller genre thing. So they were very involved, but they, you know, the wonderful thing was from the get-go, even though it was based on this video game, and I was the one to be like, what Easter eggs? What do we have? What do we owe you? What do we owe the fans? What do we have to like imbue in the library or in the wardrobe? And Jason Altman, I think, was the one to be like, you don't owe us anything. Just like make it good, like make a good movie. And I was like, understood, you know.
For each of you guys, what are you most excited for people to see, to watch the movie, you know, for people to experience?
Sam Richardson.
Ooh, that's a good one. Milana Vayntrub.
Mm.
Every actor has their moment. I think that for me, it's just that, you know, coming out of the trauma and the continued trauma of what this past, not just 16 and a half months have been and are, but 4 years have been, I'm excited for people to forget 90 minutes of, or forget for 90 minutes, all of the pain they may have endured, and just like go for a ride. I think we need fun movies right now, and for us to like go to a dark theater with our friends and just like laugh.
100%. For both of you guys, I always like asking about future stuff. For each of you, like, what can you tease about what's coming up or things you want to pursue?
Are we getting like a live action Squirrel Girl? Can you like break this news here? Like, what's happening? Are you going to be in the Marvel universe? Can you just be straight with us?
Yeah. Okay. So here's the Collider exclusive. Ready? So for Marvel.
Whoa! Whoa! Just like a red light.
Yeah, just moving around my face.
Both of you direct. So I am curious, if you could get the financing for anything, what would you make and why?
Everything that I think about making, I think about what I could do on a small budget first. So I almost like haven't even allowed myself to think like that. But what a fun way to think.
I think it's time for a horror hero. I think Darkman has been dormant too long, and I would love to play in that space again, mainly because I think there's a fun, relevant genre tale about a scarred hero living in the dark that can only fight crime, lives with the sort of shame of his like deformity, and yet takes on like the appearance of other individuals by like creating masks out of it with a 3D printer. And Liam Neeson killed that role. I think it would be so fun to revisit Darkman today, because it's like kind of a, you know, bit of a Phantom of the Opera thing. Like here's someone who might not feel like they deserve love and has been kind of like going mad in the dark. But also like shoot it as fun and interesting as Raimi did. Just like go a little bit further with it. Like I think if they've done Deadpool, like a funny, violent kind of Marvel, I think there's something cool to revisit, a fun, sweeping, but also like irreverent and clumsy horror hero. I think there's something there. That's just my honest, it's me being honest.
Sincerely, thank you so much for talking to me. And I really hope this is a huge hit for you guys, and that, the audiences respond to it, and that, as I said, it's just a huge hit.